our next guest, Ashley. He is a published author, life coach, innovative entrepreneur, and he's the creator of the Conquer Mindset, Conquer the Monster. What a title. So today we have the pleasure to have him with us in our studios. Let's welcome to the show, Rob Roberts. How are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm doing great. So happy to be here.
So excited to have you with us today because we
see
want
you
to know
again.
everything about this book. You know that you've been helping so many people to develop it, leadership skills and much, much more through your life coaching. But how do you come up with this idea and what this book means to you?
Thank you. Well, thank you again, too. I'm so happy to be here. I came up with this idea because I used to work as a counselor for a long time, and I was on treatment teams with a lot of specialists from around the world. I noticed that they were talking more so at people instead of talking to them. It was more of that whole, I see you, I hear you, kind of talking down to people. So I always say, we'll never lose our eyesight by looking at things from a bright perspective, but we'll always lose our focus when we stare into the fog. And I see a lot of people who are just kind of looking for that lighthouse, looking for that bright city on top of the hill, that guidance. I decided to put all that into a book that is very short and sweet, 69 pages, and you kind of cut through the fluff and kind of get down to the meat and potatoes. As you notice, there's 10 men and 10 women from different parts of the world.
I saw the cover right here.
We're all facing the same monster, but it just comes at us in a different way. Stress, fear, anxiety, jealousy, anger, and I just want to help people.
I love it.
I love it. And part of the title is Conquer the Monster. So my question for you is, what was your monster that led you to write this book?
Yes. Well, I noticed for me, I would go to exercise as a stress release. I didn't do drinking or smoking, but I would go to exercise. So if I got upset by something that I couldn't control, or if I didn't like something, I would go and I would exercise.
I love
Come to find
that.
out that that's actually not safe. There's a difference between coping and conquering.
Really?
I coach a lot of bodybuilders and a lot of professional athletes, and I notice that they get injured when their frame of mind isn't correct.
But I used to use the same kind of dynamic. Sometimes when I feel like that, I just go to the gym and work on it. I feel better. But I understand that maybe if you do it in a different point of view, can be.
I know. I feel like on the list of coping mechanisms that working out, getting some exercise in is probably not the worst thing, but that's interesting because that was your monster.
Exactly. So I noticed that almost like sweeping something under the rug. If you do it long enough, you're going to trip over the lump. And I noticed that a lot of the bodybuilders and professional athletes and models, they were still dealing with that monster later on. It worked temporarily. So now I decided to make a permanent fix instead of going ahead and having that temporary fix.
Right. How about if I have two monsters? Did I put them in a leash?
Yes, yeah, and most people are. Most people are struggling with 3 or 4 or 5 monsters, whether it be jealousy, anger, fear, childhood trauma. And the more that we ignore these things, the more it'll come back like a wolf and hunt us down and get us when we're most tired. It's usually when we're vulnerable, when we're hungry, when we're tired, when we're sleepy. We have that emotional trigger that pops up out of nowhere.
Goodness. Being 4 months postpartum, I feel like I feel all of those things right now.
Wow.
So what advice would you give me? My monster, I would say, is trying to manage my time with 2 kids, 3 and under.
Wow. Well, with that right there, we have to say, is there some procrastination involved? What type of stresses are we dealing with? Are we writing a to-do list? And a lot of times, our mind, it's like a garden. Whatever we plant in that garden, it's going to grow. So whether it be positive or negative. So here it is. Instead of clipping the leaves off the top of the weeds, which I see a lot of people doing, it's time for us to get a little dirty and get down to the root of the issue and extract it once and for all.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So what do you think the root is?
Well, here it is. Say if I was to sit down with you one-on-one, and that's another thing too. There is no one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter approach to mental health, and unfortunately nowadays, this is what I see. I see people coming in a little sad, in an office with a professional, and they leave depressed, and now they're on some medication. We don't need that. We can actually work through these things with someone who's trained. And there's a difference between, say, a therapist and a coach. The therapist is going to say, oh, wow, that sounds good. Tell me more. While the coach is going to say, you know what? Let's work on this directly. Let's go at it. Exactly.
Oh, my wow. I love that. What amazing words. Like, we need to see him every day. Now, this book has been written for many, many people. I know, right? Your book has been written for many, many people around the world, and you also dedicate one part, just not to Living 757, to all the crew and cast from Living 757. We want to be so thankful for you doing that, and including us in your book. Why you choose that?
Thank you. Well, here it is. You have to give credit where it's due. You guys do so much work, not just here in Virginia, but around the world. And personally, I think that some people don't get enough credit as they deserve. So that's why it was such an honor to do that with you guys.
Yes, and I want to just really fast to say that he put in his book, say, thank you to the entire cast and crew of Living 757 and We're Living Healthy. our sister show and for the inspiration and the love. So we want to thank you, Rob, for being here today with us, for being such a great leader for many people and to help them to develop leadership and everything. Oh my God, I'm so, we need him often here. Well, now, if someone want to reach out to you, Rob, we have the info. Any suggestions on social media?
Yeah, social media, you can reach out to me to my website, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you like to choose. You could just choose that. That's
Okay,
fine.
you're not going anywhere because we have a section right after this. But now, coming up next after the break, thank you so much once again. Swiping right with Huffman and Huffman. Don't go anywhere. Now, Rob.